And it says we're live and hopefully things are running. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it'll take just a second for like comments and stuff to pop up. I'll be able to see them, so I'll read them to you. And as we start getting people, I think I'm going to hop over and just let people know on my Facebook post that we couldn't get it to work on Facebook. So they can come over to YouTube, but still comment on Facebook if that's easier for people. Okay, Jill Warner is here. Jill, you found us.
Yay! Hi,
Jill. The amount of technical difficulties we had getting this thing going up. Oh, my word. Okay.
I just got to sit here, but Sarah had to deal with all of that.
I got to panic in here, and because I'm still in isolation, like I couldn't even have my husband come in and help me. He's our tech guy around here. So he's talking through the door. What's it doing now? Have you tried turning it off and on again? Yeah, so dumb. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just putting up on Facebook that the stream to Facebook didn't work. So people can watch it on YouTube, but comment here, and I will try to watch the comments and answer them as they come in. So this is riveting YouTube right now. Like, so exciting. I fully expect to win some kind of an award for this.
Oh, is there one for YouTube?
There should be.
There should be. There should be. I mean, that's where the money is.
Agreed. Mara is offering us a hi from New Orleans. Hi.
Hi.
All right. Again, really exciting. Jill says tech seems to know when you want it most. Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
like I was definitely so sure that this was going to work great, and then it totally didn't work at all, and everything melted down. It was crazy.
Yeah, so I was sitting here waiting for a call, and I was like, am I doing something wrong? Because nothing's happening. And then suddenly I had like missed call, like 3 or 4 in a row. I'm like, oh, she probably was trying to call me. Something
right,
wrong.
But it just wouldn't go through, and it was totally on my end, and I don't know why, but anyway. Jill says, what is today's drink of choice?
So for me, I decided to go with a Korean tea. It's, I don't know if this is backwards or not.
No,
this is citron tea.
Awesome.
It's really good. It's basically like a jam that you stir in hot water, but it's made out of, they call it citron, not lemon, but it tastes very lemony. And the thing that I love about it is like, it has like the lemon pills or the citron pills in the drink at the bottom. So you get to drink your tea and then chew it at the end.
That's really interesting.
if you want. And it's yummy. It's really
Some
good.
people might love that, and others might be
lemonade.
like, oh, I don't know about that.
I didn't think it would be good, but I guess it's candied enough that it's good. It's good.
I'm having a peach mango tea, which I like because it's sweet. And I have a sweet
this one's very sweet. It's literally like putting jam in hot water, like lemon jam in hot water.
Yeah. Yeah, I found peach like fruit herbal teas are probably my favorite, and then flowery ones like rose or hibiscus or that kind of thing.
Hibiscus. So I served a mission in Russia, and they are tea drinkers there, and always the hibiscus is what we would get. And so that to me, like that's where I learned to love tea. So I love hibiscus tea.
Me too.
I'm surprised we don't see it more here. I mean, it's in a lot, but not as I'd expect.
Yeah, it's harder to find than some of the others for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Jill is asking, who would you credit with helping you get started with your writing career?
Me?
Yeah.
So
you get to answer all the hard questions.
I feel like, okay. For sure, my sister-in-law, Paula Crimser, she wrote a book by herself with no help while she was kind of going through a rough patch, living in a foreign country, and then came back and like shared it with us. And she did end up getting it published. It was called Sophia. It's really cute. And I had thought once about writing before then and like sat down and tried. and was like, well, this is way too hard. I couldn't get a paragraph out, and so I quickly gave it up. I've always loved reading, and I'm like, I will just stick with reading. It's lovely. So, but after she came back to America, we started a critique group, and I really wanted to help with like just beta reading, honestly, because I loved doing the beta reading. That was so much fun for me. But they said to be in the critique group, I had to write something. So like 100%.
Cost of entry.
Be a writer. Yes, if it weren't for her. So
That's
yeah, and the
fantastic.
other people that made that group. So.
Right. And then the further on you are in your career, the more people get added to that list because
I have
you
so
discover
many people
such
now.
a huge like group effort. Yeah.
Yes, and
Sure.
I think I was surprised at how, I don't know, there's just such a great community, and
There
I've gotten
really
to know
is.
more. And Sarah has been wonderful. Like I love we did our anthology together, and
Yes, wasn't that so much fun?
like I think, yeah, the Christmas All Hearts Come Home for Christmas. Like being in that with Sarah was like with you. Was like I feel like a huge thing for my career. It was awesome. So. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Joanna is actually joining me next Saturday for Tea with Friends.
Hey.
And I feel like that anthology is where I really got to know the two of you really well because we did enough things here and there together. And that's one of my favorite things about writing is the people I've met through writing.
Yeah.
And you don't, because it's such a solitary endeavor in a lot of ways, you don't realize how much that's going to play a role in it. It's all the people that are part of it.
Definitely. And I you know, on my hard days, which I'm sure you don't have, just kidding.
Oh,
I know.
none ever. It's all sunshine and roses over here.
If it weren't for my writing friends and knowing they would be hanging out without me, I would maybe not do this anymore. But I wouldn't be able to handle them hanging out without me. So
Right. Fear of missing out is really the big motivator.
Yeah.
How do you get over writer's block? Fear. It's absolute fear.
I'm going to get left behind. Yeah.
Oh, Mary Buckley has tuned in. She says hi to the both of us and says we are two of her favorite authors.
Oh, thank you, Mary.
That's what we like to hear. For someone to pop in and be like, you guys both are awful.
Yeah,
I wouldn't read that comment if it came up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for sparing me.
That's right. I'd edit that out. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, in case there is anyone tuning in who is not real familiar with you yet, tell us either about your most recent release or an upcoming release, something to kind of help us know what you write and what your books are like.
Yeah, so I write Regency and Victorian. I feel like I have to explain this behind me. This is my debut novel, and every time I've seen people come in on your Tea with Friends or other things, they have these cute bookshelves, and I just don't have a setup. I don't have an office really. I write in my bedroom on like a lazy boy recliner.
So
I do have a bookshelf now. But I was like, what can I have in the background that's cute? And for my debut, which was The Roses of Feldstone, we had a big garden party. One of my friends made this. So I was like, oh, I can bust it out. It's the second time I've ever been able to do it. So that was my debut. Lately, I've been focusing more on Victorian, which is fun. So my first Victorian was A Proper Scandal that came out last year. And it's a fun book. I loved it because I kind of went to Victorian for two reasons. One is my favorite books are actually Victorian, North and South. Mm-hmm. It's really like my favorite, and then Jane Eyre too. So I think that naturally led me to Victorian, but also after writing just one Regency, I was ready for my main guy to have like kind of a job that he could excel at and be. So that I also wanted to write about the railroad industry. So my Victorian is pretty early Victorian, right?
How
during
early
the
is
railroad
it?
boom. 1840s, early 1840s, 18.
Very early Victorian. Yep.
Yeah.
That's another thing about the Victorian
railroad
era. It's so long. It spans, late 1830s ish to right around the late 1890s. I mean, it's this huge swath, and so much changes in 60 years. If you think back just on the 20th century, the difference between the 1940s and the 1990s, that's kind of what we're talking about in the Victorian era. So I love that about it.
I love it too, but getting covers is kind of funny because you're like, I need a Victorian cover. And I've seen the gamut of like 1890s and I'm like, no, not
that. Not quite.
Victorian.
Exactly.
Yeah, so trying to get the right Victorian outfit on the cover is tricky. Whereas Regency, it definitely has some style changes, but basically overall, a Regency dress is pretty standard. You've got
exactly. And the changes are so subtle that there are very few people who could point at that and go, this book takes place in 1807, and that was not a fashion until 1818.
Right. Yeah.
But exactly. You can look at something set in the 1890s where you're starting to ease into almost Downton Abbey, but what's on the cover is clearly Civil War era. You're like, I think that's wrong.
Yeah, so there's cute, and the bustles in the back, and there's little things that I had to research with the outfits. I had crinolines in mine because I assumed they were around, and then that was one of my very last edits. Was like, no, I'm like 3 years too early for crinolines.
Yeah, I say if you're in the 1840s, so you don't have those.
So I had to. Yeah, so I was, because the look looks like, I was looking at them as I was writing them, and they looked like crinolines to me, but it wasn't crinolines quite yet. So
you're like,
yeah. So I had 2 changes last minute where I'm like, replace that.
And then of course, every time you find something like that, you think, okay, so what else is wrong that I don't realize is wrong? Because it happens.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I felt cool having crinolines in there because I'm like, yeah, that's a fun piece of costumery that we don't use anymore. But
exactly.
So I was kind of sad to take it out.
My next book that comes out is set in the 1780s. And so we bump back into the Georgian era. Yeah. And my first draft of it, I had people wearing patches because the women wore patches. They were little things that stuck their skin or whatever. But as I kind of looked into it more, by the mid-1780s when this takes place, those were going out of style. You might see them in the older ladies, but not in the younger ones. And I was like, okay, get rid of them. But like you said, it was so cool because it's such an iconic aspect of an era that you want to bring it in. And I was like, oh.
So I actually have that in this one, my one coming out, which is Victorian, but it's kind of comical. She has to dress up, and so they're trying to make her unrecognizable, and they decide to put one on her, and it's kind of just funny. Like, really? A beauty spot?
Okay.
But I should have called it a patch. So, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Shaylin says, Esther's books are awesome. A Proper Scandal made me laugh. It's darling. I agree, Shaylin. I think that's one of the things I love about your books is they are funny. And I know how hard it is to write something that's funny. So I super appreciate when I read something that's funny. Because I know it's harder than it looks.
Yeah. It is hard. It's hard. And it's kind of a pressure point for me now. Because I'm like, I feel like enough of my books have that element in them that now I feel like, is this fun? As I'm writing, I'm like, is this even funny at all? Because that's also something hard about humor is it's funny the first time maybe, but then you edit things a lot and you start to wonder. Humor. So I'm always glad when people say oh, I laughed. I'm like, oh, good.
Oh, good.
It was funny.
Because it's not that funny to me anymore.
You don't know by the time it hits the presses, you've read it so many times that it's totally lost that element of surprise that makes it funny.
Exactly.
So.
Okay, so Mary is on here. She's saying, Sarah, Cynthia Bauer and her mother made me laugh. Yeah, they're quite a pair, weren't they? I wonder, does Cynthia Bauer ever make a match? In my mind, yes, she does. Whether or not I'd ever write a book about it, I don't know, because I really don't like her. And the aspects of her that I don't like, I don't see changing. And so I don't think I could spend 75,000 words writing about someone I dislike that inherently. But yes, I believe she does. No one that ambitious about making a match is going to not make a match. So yeah, she does. And her husband, I'm sure, lives unhappily ever after. But that's what happens.
Those are stories too. Mm-hmm. Just not ones we write.
Exactly. I don't want to write that story.
Their children will probably have a great story.
There you go. Maybe that's what I need to do is jump into the next generation. Oh man.
She would be a great mother to some daughter trying to break away, right?
Exactly. Well, for those who are just kind of hopping in now, we were originally going to try to stream this to Facebook and to YouTube at the same time. And when I tried it, my computer had a complete and total meltdown, which is why we started about 15 minutes late. So if you are watching on YouTube but aren't able to comment, I am monitoring over on my Facebook page the post where I announced this stream was starting. So if you want to leave comments there, I will watch for them there. Okay, and Mary is saying, I don't think I'd want a book about Cynthia. I was just curious. I'm glad we're on the same page. Could you imagine spending that much time with a character that you really hope isn't happy?
No, I've got a few that I'm like, yeah, no, you can't do that. I don't even want to bring them back in for
right?
More of an unhappy.
Exactly. Just let them be. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I happen to know, because I stalk people on social media, that you, like me, have a March birthday. And you, like me, had a birthday after the stay-at-home orders were put in place.
I did.
What was that like? Because my birthday was super weird. I'm wondering if yours went any better.
It was just like a birthday to remember, I guess. But for me, it all came down to like I had these I don't usually have high expectations for my birthday, and I really didn't have high expectations for this one. But my one expectation was that we would finish school by like 3. And so 6 o'clock rolled around, and I was like, we're not done with school, and it's my birthday. And I started going like, I just want to watch a movie or something. But then once school ended, which was at about 6, like it was great. Like we just had, we usually do family birthday stuff anyway. So we did our cake and ice cream, and I think we watched a movie, but I can't remember which one anymore. Even it might have been That Thing You Do.
Great show.
So yeah, it was fun.
Love it.
It was great. My husband made the cake. Actually, my son made the cake, which was nice. So I didn't have to cook. We ordered to go Korean food, which I love. So we figured that might be one of our last chances before everything's shut down. Completely.
Yeah.
So it was a good birthday. How about you? You were like alone.
Because I'm actually in isolation within my house. So yeah, it was a very weird birthday. I've told my family when I'm allowed to leave the room and interact out in the house, then we'll have to do our traditional Irish meal and stuff, so we can all be there together for it. But it was just a weird birthday. But like you said,
it was weird. But like
expectations were very low because of how weird everything was, and I think that helped. If we'd gone into it expecting everything to be exactly as it usually was, it would have been very disappointing. So
yeah. I mean, I saw it coming from plenty of time away, and I knew that's what it was going to be. Yeah. The only thing is, I wish we could have got school done sooner, but we just, with 4 children, trying to get everything done, and we actually do have enough computers for everyone now, but I don't think we did yet
at the time.
Then. So it just takes a while to get 4 kids through everything.
Well, and it's a huge adjustment for everyone. Just having everyone home, and everyone's trying to do their various types of work from home at the same time, and the kids are thrown off, and we're thrown off. Yeah. And
my husband was there, but he had work. He had a busy day at work, so it's like, So it just felt like everyone's here for my birthday, but we're not doing anything except school and work, which was fine.
Yeah. All right, Valerie is saying, Esther, I haven't read your books yet, but they're all on my to-read list. Which one should I start with?
I feel like my first 2 are pretty different. My first one was The Roses of Feldstone. If you like first person and more of like an angsty type romance, you could go with that one. A Proper Scandal is the beginning of it's going to be a 3-book series, and I love that one. It's got a lot more plot than The Roses of Feldstone, which I still see people that like either one better. So I don't know. I thought when A Proper Scandal came out that people would be like, oh, it's so much better than her first. And there are some. But there's also some that read it and were like, oh, I like the first one much better. So it kind of depends on what your style is. If
so
you're looking for more,
it doesn't have to be read in a specific order. People could kind of read the back cover blurb and decide which sounds more appealing. Awesome.
If you're interested in Victorian versus Regency, then my first one's Regency and my second one's Victorian. So.
Awesome. I feel like there's enough overlap in kind of the feel of those eras that people who like Regency are going to enjoy a Victorian and vice versa. So
mine's really Victorian too, so I think it feels pretty close to a Regency, but you have the technology coming in and things.
Exactly. Okay, Shaylin is saying, Sarah, do you think any of your books will ever be made into a movie? I would love that. Also, do you think you'll ever get tired of writing and retire? I hope not. Um, I think every author would love to see a book made into a movie, but it very, very seldom happens. The more I've learned about it, the more I have lowered my hopes on that score. I know that sounds bad, but you just realize how many steps there are and how many opportunities for it to not work out. So yes, I would love for that to happen, but I don't know that it will. And would I ever get tired of writing and retire? If I ended up retiring, it likely would not be because I was tired of writing, but I have a cocktail of progressive, degenerative, and curable diseases, and those will eventually catch up with me, and I'll reach a point where I won't be able to write anymore. I'm hopeful that will be many, 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 many years down the road, but I don't think it will ever happen because I'm tired of it. You know what I mean? Maybe by then I will be able to convince grandchildren or someone to take dictation
Hey,
from my bed. Then write a kissing scene for me. I don't write those.
That's what you need.
Right, my grandkids would be like, yeah. So that's the plan, is to have enough grandchildren that they can be minions and write down my books for me.
That's perfect.
Okay,
it is
Jana
a weird
has
career, though, right?
What's that?
Well, I was just gonna say it's one of the weird things about being an author. Is, like, my husband's been planning for retirement for so long, and when I started this as a career, I realized like I may never retire. It's kind of, I mean, in some ways that's a great thing because it means you love what you do. Mm-hmm. But it's also like, well, I don't want to stop writing books, but I do want to be retired someday because retirement sounds nice.
Right, exactly. So maybe it just slows down or yeah, exactly. It's not the specifically defined kind of job where you work until a certain age and then you're done. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Jana has popped in from California and she says, I just finished A Proper Scandal and I loved it. So there you go, Esther.
Thank you, Jana.
And Haley is saying, when did you both start writing and how did you know it was something you wanted to pursue? Esther talked about that a little bit, that your sister-in-law, was it you said, who had written and that kind of encouraged you to approach it. When did you know it was something you wanted to do?
So to start that critique group, I started a book, and it took me 2 years to write, and it was a young adult fantasy. And so I started maybe in 2015, so about 2017 is when I finished that one, but it was a total wreck. I realized I was not good at world building at all, but I just felt really bad that the romance wouldn't be told because that was like my favorite part of it. And so then I was like, well, then I will just become a romance author because that's the part I loved. And honestly, I think on the day I finished that one, I kind of had this overwhelming experience that I wanted to do this for reals now. Like those first 2 years was for fun because I was talked into it. But I told myself I'm going to write faster and I'm going to get published, and that I made the goal to write 1,000 words a day, and then I would finish a book in about 2 months, which is exactly what I did with The Roses of Feldstone, and then 2 more months of like editing, and it got accepted from one of the first 2 places I sent it. So like for me, I kind of a great path. I don't think that's super typical, but like as soon as I decided to take it seriously, it's gone really well. So that was like 2017 when I started Roses of Feldstone.
It's fabulous. Yeah.
Thanks to people like Sarah.
Well, opened a few doors. I started writing in 2005, probably, on a dare from my mom. And over the course of learning how to write and editing and rewriting, I fell in love with it. And I just knew I wanted to keep writing stories and keep telling stories. And started submitting and querying and all of that like authors tend to do. I got just over 100 rejections, which is not great for the author's self-esteem, but it's actually very common. Eventually ended up with one of the publishers I'm with now. My first book with them was published in 2010 or 2011. Now I can't remember. It might have been 2011. Anyway, because I'm coming up on about 10 years now that I've been published. So mine started on a dare, and I just fell in love with it as I was doing it. That's when I knew I wanted to keep going. So
that's
there
awesome.
You go.
Way to go, Mom.
Woohoo! Sometimes I'm like, what have you done to me? And other times I'm really grateful.
Yes. Now, I've got one child that likes to go to the writing conferences and stuff, and I'm always like, but you don't really want to do this, right?
Right.
I feel bad because I'm like, it's what I do, but I'm a little bit like, it's a hard career, and it's mentally taxing, but it's also just so rewarding. So
yeah. Well, and I feel like the children
really
of artists who go into careers in the arts go in with their eyes wide open. Like there is no rose-colored glasses on that. They understand it in a way that a lot of people don't. So
yeah.
All right. Jana has said, Esther, I just recently discovered you as an author, and I love all your stories. I love that everyone is telling you this because it's so true. But as authors, we tend to not hear that feedback very often, and so it's easy to wonder if everyone thinks you stink.
It is. Yeah, no, I have a book coming out next month, and I don't know if everybody is this way, but I'm seriously like, I don't know if it's good or not yet, because I need people to read it and tell me.
And yet you're also afraid of them reading it and telling you.
I know. So I'm really anxious to see how that one goes. So, yeah. So thank you. There are the people that are chiming in. Authors need to hear it. For some reason, the times we hear negative kind of stick with you a little bit more. I don't feel like I overly have a problem with that, but for a day or two, I do. I don't feel like overall it affects me, but
and that kind of sticks with you. And when you have a new book coming out, you think back on all those things people disliked exactly about the previous ones. Yeah. So they're going to find things about this new one, and what if there are too many of the bad things and everyone hates it, and this is the book that takes your career.
Well, and I know the weaknesses of this book. Like, I know them, and I think they're overshadowed by the strengths.
You hope anyway,
but,
right?
Like, I'm just waiting for someone to pick those things apart.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I've heard it said, and I think I said this on my last Tea with Friends, there's a quote. It says that, a book is never finished, it's just abandoned. And I think it's true. We reach a point as authors where we're like, well, I can't do better than this. I know it's not perfect. I know all its flaws. Mm-hmm. But this is what you're getting. And so hearing them laid out in great detail isn't superbly helpful.
I was on a walk with a couple of other authors before everybody got isolated. And I remember just saying, like, at some point you have to be okay with mediocrity.
Yes.
When you're an author. And you have to just tell yourself, like, it's okay that I'm not the best at this. Because nobody is. And, like, it's a good place to get. To be like, I wrote a book that some people will enjoy. Like, and it will bring pleasure to a few people. And those are the people that I'm writing for.
That you're writing for, exactly. And you have to remind yourself of that. Carla Kelly said to me once, and this has stuck with me. I don't know if you know Carla, but she is, I wouldn't say grumpy, but she's direct and to the point. So you have to be prepared for that. And my grandma's exactly the same way. So having grown up with that doesn't bother me at all. I was just telling her, because I was working on a book, and I said, I feel like it could be better. It could be better. It could be better. And she said, Sarah, this isn't Hamlet, and you're not Shakespeare. So it's kind of that idea. You've got to be okay with the fact that it is what it is, and it's not going to be Hamlet, and it's okay. Yeah.
I remember with my first book, I wanted to know what my release date was, and Covenant now is doing like pretty strong release dates, like May 1st. But at the time, they were just kind of like, it comes out in August.
About this time.
Sometime. And I was like, I don't get like a release date. And they basically said in the nicest way possible, this makes it sound worse than it is, but they're like, you're not J.K. Rowling. And it was kind of a good moment for me to be like, oh yeah, it's like my first book. Nobody knows who I am. They don't need to have a hard release date. People aren't going to be lining up at the stores. But so I've always told myself that I'm not J.K. Rowling. It's fine.
It's all right. Exactly. Exactly. It's such a weird profession because you have to find that balance between being confident enough to put your work out there and humble enough to expect nothing to come of it so that you will feel pleased with what happens. And somehow I think most
people are that way. It's a weird, Yeah. I don't think I could write a book without like really believing in it.
Right. Which I think is why I don't put out as many as some authors do, because I don't know, it has to be something I'm invested in, or
Did you say not as many as some? I'm like so impressed with
Like
how many
those
books
who
you're
put
putting
out like one a month. You know, some of those authors are like, I published my 14th book this year, and you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah, but Sarah, you're putting out a lot. I am really struggling getting my next one, and I feel like it's coming so slow.
Oh.
Whew. Anyway, yeah.
And the words are
Let's
just
not
like,
talk about that.
Okay, Valerie is asking, Sarah, when are Valley of Dreams and The Gentleman and the Thief coming out, and what's after that? Valley of Dreams actually came out in February, so it's been out for 6 or 7 weeks now. Forget Me Not is my next one in September. That's set in the 1700s. It's the Jonquil brothers' parents' love story, which was so much fun, and it will be launching a whole new series set in the 1780s, which I'm super, super excited about. The Gentleman and the Thief, that's the next one in my Lady and the Highwayman universe. That one comes out in November. And I have stuff on the docket after that, but none of it is official, so I can't tell you about it yet. How's that?
See what I mean? Lots of books for Sarah. I don't have any I can announce. Well, I mean, a proper charade comes out next month, but after that,
And that was Valerie's question, what's your next project? So I think for you, it's tell us a little bit about your book that's coming out next month.
So the next month, May 1st, we have dates now. I'm a little bit closer to J.K. Rowling. May 1st.
You're moving up.
Charade comes out. I'm moving up. Everybody is, but yes. It's a proper charade, and this one follows a proper scandal, but they're kind of standalone like Sarah's books, where you take a side character from one and bring them their own story. So you don't really have to read them in order. I think by the time the third one comes out, I hope that people have read some of them in order, because the third one, again, it's standalone, but it's a character that's been in all three.
No, I know.
So that would be fun if it's in order. And that's the book I'm working on now. Actually, a proper charade you can buy today at Seagull Book, I think. They're doing like a sale.
Awesome.
So I think and I bet all of Sarah's books are probably, a lot of them anyway, are on sale at Seagull Book right now for like 30% off.
Yeah.
But that one, it's for sale today, and then it won't be for sale again until May 1st.
Pull it back again.
So if you're really anxious to read it sooner than everybody else, you could go buy it at Seagull Book right now. But other than that, it's coming out May 1st. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yay. And then you're working on like the next one in that.
I'm working on the next one still. Yeah, which usually by the time the book comes out, I have that one done. Mm-hmm. But this one's taking me a little bit longer. And I did do a novella in between too. So.
Yeah. And I found, at least with me, as I get deeper into an interconnected set of books, whether or not it's like mine, like yours, for the most part, they stand alone, but they're very interconnected. Yeah. Sometimes those later books are harder. They come more slowly. And I think because there's so much backstory behind it, you're trying to figure out how much do I need to tell people in case they haven't read the others, and how much do I pull back? Yeah. And how much of the other characters from previous books can I bring in without bogging this one down? It just gets more complicated.
Yeah.
And so for me, those
and just remembering that stuff. I think you take good notes.
I have to.
I am not as organized as you, and now I'm realizing I need to figure something like that, because it's just things like I don't remember my main character's eye color.
And having to
so I mean, there's a lot of
yeah.
There's a lot of things like that. Like I don't know if I had someone pictured in my, like a lot of times I'll find a picture and put it on my notes, and I can't remember if I had one for him, and I could make up a new one, I guess, but I just want to go back and do that. So for now, I'm being really lame in my descriptions of him, because so it's like there's different things like that I'm like, I need to
fill in the details when you know what they are. I've been known to post on social media, does anyone remember the name of? Or did I ever say what color so-and-so's horse was?
I can't imagine it. Like, I'm doing 3 books, and I see your series. I'm just like,
I do not know what the plural of that word is. Serii?
I don't know. But I need to be a better note taker if I'm going to do a series again. This one just kind of happened because I fell in love with a side character.
Yeah. That happens where someone's I get a story now, and suddenly you have this huge thing you're trying to pull together.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yay! I've got some comments over on the Facebook post. It took a little while for them to pop up.
Okay.
Peggy says she's watching, and she has a birthday coming up, so she was glad to hear that our birthdays went pretty well, even with the weirdness right now.
Yeah.
And she wishes us both a late happy birthday, so thank you, Peggy.
Thank you, Peggy.
Peggy wants to know if we're getting a lot of writing done during our stay-at-home quarantine, shelter-in-place, whatever we want to call it.
Sarah,
I can't imagine you're getting
alone.
anything done because you have your kids at home. Like, yeah.
For me, it's terrible because I'm now a school teacher,
Yeah.
and this was my first year of having them all at school, and so I was like, I have time to write finally, and now that all kind of
it's just gone.
went out the window.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Peggy is a friend of mine from Florida. Well, she's in Florida, I believe.
Oh, yay.
And she is awesome. And she's done some reading for me. And she is, when I lived in Texas, her husband was our bishop. So I was reading something out loud to her the other day, and it just made me laugh so hard because it was like a man's chest, like his shirt open, like to here. And I just couldn't do it. And I know she reads my books, but Peggy, that was one of my funniest moments with beta readers is like talking about that scene with my bishop's wife.
That's really funny.
Anyway, thanks for joining.
Oh my gosh. When I was first starting out writing, we were living in a different state at the time. My oldest was in first grade and my youngest was in preschool. So for 3 mornings a week, I had a couple of hours when I could write. I'm sure you can relate to that point where you're like, I have 2 hours. And there was a library very near the preschool. So I would go over to the library and there was just kind of open section with tables and I'd sit down there and write. And I'd been doing this for a few months. And this library is right next to a community college. So lots of college students would go there to study. And after I'd been doing it for a few months, a couple of the college kids who were there almost every day that I was there finally said, okay, we have to ask you. You make the strangest faces and you move a lot. We cannot figure out what you're doing. And I said, well, I'm writing a book. They were like, well, then our guess is someone's been running, someone's been mad. And I was like, oh, am I like acting out my books? So I started paying attention. I totally had been. Which, thank goodness, I don't write kissing scenes. Could you imagine at the library making kissy faces? And all these college students are watching you like, this lady has lost it. Yeah.
It's so true, though. Like, you have to kind of, okay, how do you, can you raise one eyebrow and then the other eyebrow? Yeah.
I know. Can you half pout, half smirk? Yeah. Everyone around you is like, what is happening right now? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So let's see what else we have. Sarah, you've mentioned before you do a lot of character work and outlining before writing. I am absolutely an outliner. Not everyone is. What does that process look like? Same question to Esther about her writing process. So are you an outliner, a pantser, a little bit of both? Where do you fall on that spectrum?
I'm definitely a little bit of both. And like we've talked about, you spend time with authors once you're kind of in this world. And I've seen, like Sarah, how awesome it is that she outlines and like what that does for your productivity, I think, is amazing. I have another friend that will do like 40-page outlines and then just write the book over the course of 2 weeks, And so like I've seen people do stuff like this. And so for Proper Scandal, I actually really tried hard to do that. And really what happened is I just stopped. Like I was puttering around with an outline that never really could work for me. And I finally realized I had a deadline coming up. It wasn't like hard deadlining, but I really wanted to get it done by that time. And so I sat down and started writing, and immediately something I wrote led to something else that would happen later. And so for me, it has to come while I'm writing, which is frustrating a little bit because I feel like it does slow me down. But they call it a discovery writer, I guess. I always know like my beginning scene. I always know kind of like the conflict between the two people and like what's holding them back, different things. But as far as like scene from scene, that comes as I write.
When I did my tea with Tracy Abramson, and I don't remember if this was on the actual stream itself or when she and I were talking afterwards, but because she's more of a discovery writer and I'm obviously more of an outliner, we feel like in the end we probably both spend about the same amount of time. I just put a lot of my time into my pre-writing, and she puts a lot of time into rewriting, and in the end, it kind of evens out. So, I think it's just which end you load
Yeah.
based on
And I
whatever
think
works
it's
for
really
you.
dangerous to compare at times.
Right.
Like, no, I'm not, I mean, I think it's fine that I tried to do it that way, but until I kind of saw the whole process of a plotter, I would hear things like, yes, I wrote the book in 2 weeks, and I would be devastated because there's no way I could do that. But what I didn't see is that she also spent 2 months working on the outline
Preparing it. Exactly.
beforehand. And so it's like, yeah, so it's a different, and she's still faster than me, this one friend, but like, it is different. It's different. And you can't say like, why can't I write that fast if that's not the style you write? But.
Right. All right, Peggy says she's dying laughing about you being embarrassed about a man's chest, so I'm super glad that entertaining story got included. Let's see, Lisa is asking if I could do a family tree for the Hope Springs series. That actually would be really fun. I can do it up to this point because there are obviously some spoilers down the road, but you bet. And we got a question from Shaylin saying, have you ever been asked to do an anthology with an author you didn't care for, and are you allowed to say no? I can't say I've ever been asked to do an anthology with someone I didn't want to do one with, but we're never forced to participate in anthologies. At least I've never felt like I was. It's always an option. So I guess if I were asked to participate and one of the authors was someone I didn't want to be part of, I guess I could say, you could say no. You don't have to tell them why. But
both of my anthologies that I've done, I was just so excited to be a part of that was not, I didn't really even know who the authors were when I said yes.
And that can happen too. You don't know who else it is.
Yeah. So like for me, it was very much like with the Christmas one, they asked me to do that after I only had one book out. So it didn't matter who the other authors were. They were going to be more established than I was, most likely. And then when I found out it was Sarah and Anita and Joanna, I was like, oh, I hit the jackpot on this one. So yeah. So I don't know. I guess I feel like so far all my anthologies have just been great for me. And that hasn't crossed my mind.
Yeah, I've never had that come up either, to where I was like, I don't think I want to be part of this one because of whatever. Sometimes I have to say no because I can't fit it into my schedule, but it's never been because of who else was part of it. Okay, Emily is saying, can you also do a family tree for the Jonquils? Again, up to where I'm at, because there will be spoilers and information.
Oh, come on. No,
sure. And I've told people I know the Jonquil family tree for multiple generations, so I could give you lots of spoilers, but I'm not going to do that because I'm mean, I guess. Jana wants to know how much of our writing time is devoted to research. Do you have tons of it, or is it a smaller portion?
I am not so I know a lot of authors are way into research, and I love it, but it does lead me down like rabbit holes where you spend a lot of time researching. So I do some research before I start, and mostly I do it though while I'm writing, where I'm like, oh, were crinolines actually, when did those come in? Like, I better double check the year on that. And so I'm sure I miss things because of that, because again, I'll write them, and then it's only if I think of to go research that specific thing that I go back and research. But I do love it, and there's also things that I've researched well enough that when you do the research and you do that homework, you have seen, you know how they talk about, oh, that scene just wrote itself. I don't believe in that concept, but I have had a few scenes that almost wrote themselves because you had all this history you wanted to get in there, and it makes the scene flow in a way that will showcase what you learn. I mean, if that works for the story.
Exactly. And that's a tough thing too, is figuring out, because you always know way more than is ever going to make it onto the page, and it's figuring out how much should go in there and how much shouldn't, and that's such a balancing act. I'm making sure I'm not missing anything. Right? What's that?
Sarah does a ton of research. I know.
Oh my gosh. I have to set timers and limits because I would research all day long if I had the option. While I'm writing, I'll just leave notes to myself, go look this up. And so then I have a list of things that keeps me from keeps me from neglecting the actual writing. Valerie is saying she loves my teacup. Thank you. I got it in an antique shop a little while ago. It's one of my favorites. I have teacups all over the place. And my grandma passed away about a year ago, and she collected teacups too. And she left me an entire tea set that was at her house. And so I have that as well. And I cherish it because she loved them and I love them. And so they're now at my house. So I have lots. I rotate teacups I have a little tiny curio cabinet and I just rotate what's in it because I have so many. Yeah. I've told my kids someday when I pass away, you're going to be giving teacups to everyone you know because they're everywhere. I have so many. All right. Well, we have hit about 45 minutes, which is usually about how long I go. I'm just going to make sure I haven't missed. I mean, obviously, I probably missed some, but just going to check real quick.
Okay.
And a big thank you to everyone who was patient as I tried to get this feed running and who found us and who has commented. This has been fun to get together with people virtually and hang out. I think even after our quarantines are lifted, it'd be fun to keep doing it. So
yeah,
just to be warned, Esther. You may get more emails from me.
I just loved how, I think authors do get a chance to hang out a little bit, but readers don't get to see that very often. So I love that they get to see us. I think we're fun people when we get together. It's kind of a unique group.
Right.
So it's fun to share that with readers.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us, and best of luck with your upcoming release. I'm excited about it, and I think a lot of other people are too, so keep our fingers crossed.
Thanks, Sarah.
I'm glad you've reached that J.K. Rowling level of having a release date.
I have a release date.
See, I may not be Shakespeare, but you're J.K. Rowling, so...
I still don't think people are lining up at the doors, so I haven't not quite.
Little ways to go.
But I do have a release date.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. And thanks to everyone else who came in and was part of it. All right. Bye,
thanks,
everybody.
Everyone. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.